The Bitcoin Energy Consumption Index shows that global digital mining of Bitcoin consumes more energy than 159 countries. Nearly 10 U.S. households can be powered for a day by the electricity consumed for a single Bitcoin transaction, according to Digitonomist. Thank you. Okay, so to begin with, I'd like to outline some rebuttal points. You said, I'd like to outline. So, I'm sure you're aware of biases. It's when people don't give information that they think will benefit them, if you know about. And we suspect that this happens to the government. So basically so the SEC is a governmental organization. So the fact that you don't have information to the other side kind of pretty much suggests that this is bias. And now I'd like to outline our contentions. So the first contention was how there are no free transactions. There is added efficiency and security, and it combats oppression and security of identity. We first argue that transactions are cheaper using cryptocurrency. According to the Wall Street Journal, consumers pay a cumulative average of $1,000 actually in over 10 years in maintenance and transactions fees. This is a massive amount. Using cryptocurrency enables the consumer to use this money in other more important venues. This value of $1,000 surges exponentially when spent by an impoverished family. Will improve lives and develop the world and the society, which links to our framework that we did, by the way, mention in the beginning. So our next contention was that cryptocurrency is more efficient and secure. The user has complete anonymity and it's actually harder to steal cryptocurrency as it is a digital format. This protects people against crimes like identity theft and makes them feel more secure, providing a better world and society, which again links to our framework. Higher efficiency and faster transactions allow trade to take place more swiftly and happens more often in a day. This benefits the economy directly as more trade affects the stock prices, causing the economy to flourish. So our final contention was that cryptocurrency combats oppression. As cryptocurrency is not affected by inflation, it can be used directly in economically developing countries instead of relying on corrupt banks. This can protect the interests of people as well as help the economy suffering from hyperinflation. It provides choice to people and empowers them, making the world a better place. Thank you so much for listening.
how can poor people profit from the cryptocurrency revolution when most of them actually don't have access to cryptocurrency?
Right now, internet is a commonality. Like people have widespread access of internet, even in small countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela, like the example we
But it
gave.
doesn't mean that they have like computers and technologies that will actually help them.
They don't need to have computers. There are several in developing countries. There are several like common computer spaces where they can go to and use cryptocurrency. Or can we ask a question?
Can we just clarify the source
For
what you just said?
that internet is common.
No, that a lot of less developed countries have a lot of computers.
I have seen it myself. Before I was in India, and there were several places where there are cafes, which are called cyber cafes. You can look it up, and it's basically places where they're also there in China, where there are a lot of computers with internet which people can use.
Okay, your question?
So you talked about how with cryptocurrency and frauds, money has zero possibility of being given back. Is that true?
Yes.
How can you prove that?
Since cryptocurrencies the government does not interfere with cryptocurrency, correct?
Yes.
Then therefore there's no the money. If the money is stolen or hacked, there's left no trace for the money to be returned or refunded. On the other hand,
there are IP addresses which can be tracked.
By how? How do you track it?
IP addresses can be tracked. How normal IP addresses are tracked?
On cryptocurrencies?
Yes.
Where's your evidence?
The computer tracks the IP address. Can we ask? Is it your question?
Okay, it's our question.
Also,
so if there are so many thefts and hackers that are not found, how is cryptocurrencies beneficial?
Sorry?
If there are so many thefts and hackers that are not found, how is cryptocurrencies beneficial?
Do you have proof that there are thefts which have not been found? Because if they
For example, as I mentioned in my speech, I had two examples. One is the empty GOTS.
Thefts have been found as you're clearly mentioning them.
They're not found. Yeah. The thefts left with $7.2 billion at today's range.
However, there's thefts in several areas. By highlighting cryptocurrency, you're making it look worse than it actually is, because there's also, as we mentioned, there's identity theft going on in banks and in other fiat currencies which go on daily without us knowing.
Well, there's also the same thing happening in cryptocurrencies.
We ask if we ask what is the harm in cryptocurrency theft. It is if it's being happened less than identity thefts which have been happening in banks worldwide. There will be scams.
Okay, so final focus with time. We have 2 minutes left. time starts now. I'm the fourth speaker on the county, and I'd like to conclude this debate. And I would like to start with both teams' framework. So I believe that this debate is based on the framework of the county because the other team's framework was only pointed out in the third speech. And I believe our team has won this debate by fulfilling our framework. We give examples of how the market have monopolies, and they just simply replied us with, oh, there are more monopolies in other currencies. However, in the crypto market, it is way more extreme because there will be no government interference. Also, they kept telling us how crypto miners will be using more green energy and more further developed technology, but they cannot predict the future and they cannot determine if it's really true. And our team will give it more harms that might lead to financial crisis, personal financial losses, and even more severe environmental damages. And now judges, imagine those people who live in poor countries. They wish to receive all benefits that cryptocurrency market has promised, wishing to have a chance of actually entering the economy and trade globally, wishing to have a new start in this repeated life of generations of their families. But they suddenly realize that they cannot understand the complex progress of cryptocurrencies, and they end up getting robbed, hacked, and even abused in the cryptocurrency economy by those who are far more powerful and wealthy than they are. When they want to get at least some parts of the funds back due to systematic failures, there is nobody. And after all this, when they return to their farmlands to try to continue living, they realize that their homes are already being damaged by those heavy mining areas, left them with nothing but public health and safety risks and negative impacts on their public utility services. How can cryptocurrencies be so beneficial for people physically and financially after all this? Furthermore, they never gave us an example of how to prevent monopolies in the current cryptocurrency market. And this issue will lead to rich getting richer and poor getting poorer. So why even trust cryptocurrencies that they're beneficial? It doesn't provide us any safety or guarantee us the funds or getting stolen. Thank you.
Hello. We would first like to argue against one of their points and then continue with how a world with cryptocurrency would look like. So they talked about how there's government interference in monopolies. However, the government can easily be bribed, and there have been cases of bribery from big Fortune 500 countries. And the government, as we mentioned before, has been accused of corruption. And right now, having cryptocurrency is more about freedom. With this, judges, we would like to tell you what a world with cryptocurrency would look like. A world with cryptocurrency would be a world where people have the freedom to trade their money and have power over their money without any governmental intervention, where they wouldn't have to depend on banks, whose primary purpose is to maximize profit, and are institutions which segregate due to race. A world in which more money is saved due to lower transaction costs, valuable money which can be used elsewhere. A world where identity remains secure. A world without corruption, and a better world, both economically and socially. Thank you.
on like hydropower